Welcome, Hotshots, to Flashlight by Firepower X. Here you can find the industrial strength tools you need to dominate your personal and professional wellness as a firefighter. My name is Jess. I'm your host for today's webinar. It's my special privilege to introduce today's guest, Deputy Chief Martin Gaynor. He's a fourth generation firefighter who began his career in 2000 and currently serves with the Mount Laurel Fire Department, where he was promoted to Deputy Chief in 2025. He holds a BA in Law and Justice from Rowan University, is a New Jersey certified fire inspector, level 2 fire instructor, EMT, and he teaches at the Burlington County Emergency Services Training Center. A proud member and bagpiper with the Camden County Emerald Society Pipes and Drums, Martin lives in Cherry Hill with his wife, children, and rescue pup. Welcome, Marty, today. It's so good to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me. It truly is an honor.
Yeah. So, did you feel pressured being a fourth generation firefighter? Did you feel like I have to carry the family legacy, or did you genuinely want to enter the fire service?
For the longest time, kudos to my parents. My dad was fire chief, fire marshal, volunteer capacity for fire chief, and then he was career fire marshal. And my mom was a volunteer EMT. So I grew up at the firehouse, second family, and all that.
Mm-hmm.
There was never, hey, this is what you should do, or grooming them kind of to be. And I remember my dad was coming towards the end of his tenure with volunteering, and he was looking to retire from his job. And very specific stands out in my mind. You stand in the kitchen, and he goes, "Hey, I want to get out. But if you have any interest in doing this, I'll stick around for a couple of years and just see you through." I'm like, I'll give it a try. So I was a senior in high school and signed up. And even through high school and college, you listed that my degree was in law and justice. I had grand aspirations of becoming a bomb technician. So my goal was to get a degree in law and justice, which makes sense, to go defuse bombs. But my parents always told me too, the best laid plans always need a backup. So even while I was going to college, I signed up for the civil service test for firefighting, and lo and behold, life works out a certain way, and here I am. So there was no pressure, a lot of pride that I went this route, especially for my dad. But I know my mom's beaming with pride too, because they gave me the solid foundation to become the guy I am today.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that was a really cool dream to be a bomb tech.
Yeah, shout out to I call my brother, my cousin, we were close. We grew up really close together. He joined the Air Force and he got out as a sergeant and he was a bomb tech EOD.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Oh,
you
okay.
know, I had the
So,
dream for the longest time and he actually lived the dream. So,
oh, well, it's
yeah.
good that you keep it in the family and you can hear some of his stories, and that's
Yeah.
awesome. So you and I met at a fire service event, and you mentioned in our conversation over lunch, present moment thinking. Can you unpack that for us, and how do you use that to make decisions?
So, present moment thinking. Now I'm thinking back to our conversation 3 months ago. And if I start to go off the rails for what you remember, just try and prod me back to the other way. I try to be deliberate with my thinking. One, be a good listener, and that'll help me be a good thinker for now. So I hear all aspects, I get all perspectives, and then I act on that, whether it be something at home or at work. And I wasn't like this, it's not my personality, but being a present thinker, I'm not going to say my superpower, but it's given me the ability to be a better leader, I think.
Hmm.
This didn't come born. This wasn't something, unfortunately, I had to learn good, bad, and the other as a life experience. Years of therapy, help and support from my great wife, my family, have got me to where I am. So that thinking presently, yeah, I know this might stink, this present situation, but I know I'm going to get out of it.
Hmm.
And being present in that thought is noticing the stress and anxiety that the job presents me. But also, too, I know that I can internalize it and make good out of it. I'm not a creative thinker, so I always take any little things that other people say. And it was an EMT from Cherry Hill. He goes, "What do? You get crapped on? You gonna say I get crapped on? No, you make flowers out of it. It's fertilizer." It's pretty funny. So yeah, you might be in a crap situation, but present thinking will help you get out of it. Understanding that the stress isn't forever. There is a way out of that tunnel. That
Hmm.
knot in your stomach will go away eventually. But again, to get where I was, I had to develop a lot of techniques to finally get my mindset. So I hope that this kind of reiterate what I said back in April.
Yeah, besides really active listening, it sounds like there's some emotional management that's also going on. Is that also in the skill set?
Yeah, that took some time, maturity, age, and life experience. All three of those things, That emotional intelligence has been my favorite buzzword probably for the past 2 weeks, and I don't know why. But I want to get to the place where I'm reacting to the motivation instead of the person, or I'm reacting to the fact and not the event. So
Hmm.
if that makes sense. So I'm happy to be where I'm at because now there are still things that, my son drives me nuts. He has a temper tantrum, quick yell at him. Is that the best thing to do? Probably not. I'm not on a podcast for parenting, but yeah, the present thinking will stop, I think, a lot of people from making irrational decisions, but also saying the wrong thing.
Hmm.
Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. That's not true. But he says something in the heat of the moment. It's almost like a drunk man's words or a sober man's thoughts kind of thing, where it drops the veil. So you said it in a time of anger. You said it in a time of passion. Was a really intent, but you did some damage. So be cognizant of that present mind to to get control of your own emotions. Again, how I was brought up, my mom always instilled in me. She goes, once you lose control, you've given control to somebody else. So,
Yes. Yeah, that's huge.
and we're in the business of firefighting. We never have control until we exert ourselves. We've given ourselves that we have those technical problems ahead of us. It's a fire in a house. We're going to go put it out. But ultimately, fire is a force of nature, and that's going to take control. So I have to do everything that I can. I have to rely on my people. I have to rely on my training, have that emotional intelligence that I'm not going to get upset about this. I want to be a present thinker and put this fire out how I know how to.
Yeah, that's exactly right of that control piece. And yeah, I also did not have these skills coming into the fire service or growing up. I was a hot mess constantly. And so, yeah, they're very hard earned. But once you do, there's no going back. You realize the most stoic person is really the most powerful one, and they don't even have to even be saying anything. No, it's
Oh, yeah.
just the vibe that they're giving off. So,
Yep.
do you think emotional intelligence is kind of catching on in the industry, or do you think we have a ways to go?
So locally, it's a lot of guys I grew up with, like a lot of guys that mentored me, way back in Firefighter One. So we're all getting older, and with age comes wisdom, and wisdom comes from bad decisions and a good outcome kind of thing. You just wise because of it. But I look around and I see a lot of good things in the fire service in general. But then on a anecdotal, on a very subjective basis, there are some things that we can't get out of our own way. I'm proud of my department, and we do a lot of things good. And I like going to these conferences to kind of pick the brain of the other leaders around the country, to see what we're doing is what they're doing, and it's not like a competition. Like it's a reassurance that you're on the right path, you're doing the right thing, and for what? We're there for our people, and we're there to serve the public. That's it. So when I say we're taking a step back, is when people that are put in leadership roles that shouldn't be there. We've all worked for them, worked with them. They're not there for those reasons.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as a whole, I'm hopeful because
Mhm.
now we're starting to see the baby boomers are starting to retire out. The Gen X are kind of starting to get out too. It's a young person's game.
Mhm.
So now the millennials, who it's been my experience, and I'm on the tail end or the beginning of that. So I'm painting myself with that brush. We're starting to see those present thinkers, that there are ramifications to your actions and thinking more globally. That's where I'm hopeful that we're moving along in the right direction. If we got to take 2 steps back to take 3 steps ahead, that's what we got to do sometimes.
Yeah. Would you say that our this industry attracts a certain personality type? Are we starting to see in recruitment kind of trends of a more diverse audience or that we're bringing in now?
That's a really, really good question. What has attracted in me, again, I'm an adrenaline junkie, and I made battalion chief last year, and we had a banner year. My platoon, we had 27 fires we went to, had in town. It was great. Not for the people affected, I never
Hmm.
wish any bad on anybody. But I mean, even just standing at the car and having that strategic challenge, it still give me the same, all right, I got to pull the line off and I got to get in there, see to the fire, locate, confine, extinguish. It was the same kind of high. Now things are much different. I'm sitting behind a desk, but I like that part of the job. But the biggest thing that I love about it is the problem solving. I always make a joke. I have cops from my family. I'm great friends with cops, but whenever they're in a pickle, they call the fire department. And why is that? Because we're problem solvers. I can give you plenty of stories from over the years that we didn't know what to do, so we called you. Okay,
Hmm.
and that's where you start to put that technical thinking, like, all right, I've seen this slideshow before, and this is how we did it, kind of thing. I still think we attract those critical thinkers, those problem solvers. What we are lacking of is people with any kind of trades background. Now we're in the day and age. I mean, let me just roll the clock back 23 years ago when I took the test.
Mhm.
There was 200 people for every one job.
Yeah.
And the more certificates you had coming in, the better chance you had, not a
Yeah.
guarantee that you would get a job.
Yeah.
So now all those people are retiring. There's more jobs than ever. And now we are clamoring to get a good qualified applicant. And then we're saying, don't worry about the certifications, we're going to send you. And
Mhm.
part of the certification, these people have never picked up a hammer. They never picked up a tool. You know, they don't understand prying, pulling, the basics of being a firefighter, never mind any kind of rescue technician level stuff. So I still want the problem solvers. I want the critical thinkers because we can mold them to what we need them to be. But what we've lost is that pedigree of any kind of physical labor or mechanically minded people.
Yeah, especially the digital kids who grew up with the phone in their hand and just
Yeah.
are used to this interface. So, personal accountability, let's touch on that. What does that mean to you, and why is it important in this industry?
So going back to the digital kids, the thing that sticks out in my mind, I remember I had a soccer coach in high school and he called us the Nintendo generation because you'd
Hmm.
much rather play Nintendo
Hmm.
than you would rather come out to the field.
Hmm.
And we were right there when the freshman uh, team was getting cut off the roster, and then everybody that came out for JV or varsity made the team, you know, including my skill set. Again, I'm on a podcast about firefighting, not about soccer playing. So that always stuck in my mind, and he's absolutely right. But that was part and parcel to this is when kids were made less accountable. You know, the helicopter parents, and
Hmm.
we all know the term. I come in, I protect them, and my kid can do no wrong.
Hmm.
And it was my generation when I was still in grade school, we saw that shift that the parents didn't support the teachers, the parents supported the kids and
Hmm.
were against the teachers. There was no accountability. I grew
Yeah.
up in a very different household that I came home with a poor report card. I was sat down at the kitchen table and my parents chewed me out, rightfully so. So I learned at a young age to be accountable for my own actions. And if I mess up, and I still do, even for being a deputy chief and sitting behind a desk, my mess ups are more noticeable and there's more eyes watching me, but nobody's going to be more of a hawk and more of a whistleblower to my own actions than me.
Hmm.
So being personally accountable and how can I do better? That's how I look at it. So I got out of the situation because I made this mistake. What can I learn from it? So I do my absolute damnedest not to do it again. That's what personal accountability means to me. It's lacking in society. The fire service, we're getting better about it. Fortunately, we're a paramilitary organization. So we have that rank and file chain of command that is our checks and balances. But at the personal level, when somebody finds a lot of fault with leadership, what are you doing to fix it? All right, there's something to be said about I call it fireman therapy. I still do it, but I do
Yeah.
it. My group is smaller and smaller because gripes go up, they don't go down.
Yeah.
Learned that from Saving Private Ryan.
Uh-huh.
But be accountable. You know, what if you come to the table with a problem, you better come to the table with a solution too, or at least a
Yeah.
suggestion of one if you can't make that decision. Be
Yeah.
accountable for your words. You know, be
Hmm.
accountable for your actions. If everybody had the high level of accountability that we think we are imprinted with, coming out of the academy, you wouldn't have these people fired for doing TikToks in the firehouse or stealing money off of patient's dresser while they're packaging them up, like stupid stuff.
Yeah. I think on a societal level, it's definitely victimhood is hot, is like the cool thing,
Yeah,
and that's all everybody knows. Instead of, like you said, like picking up the problem and getting your hands dirty and doing something to fix it. Now that you're at the top of the food chain at your department, where is the line between the department's responsibility and then the personal responsibility of the individual? Particularly with wellness, is it the department's responsibility to make sure everyone's well, or is it the individual's responsibility?
great question. Near and dear to my heart is health and wellness. And this comes from a place of physical wellness because firefighters should come out of they shouldn't be in the best shape of their life coming out of the academy. They should be in the best shape of their life for the academy and then the job. We don't have to look like bodybuilders, but you should be able to run a 5K. You should be able to put in hard effort for 30 minutes. And why is that? You know, that's your work period inside of an IDLH environment.
Hmm.
Um, what's the department's responsibility? I always thought it was the responsibility of the department to send me for a physical when I was a firefighter. They never did that because we didn't have the money for it. I always thought it was the department's responsibility to make sure that I was okay mentally. They didn't have the money for it. They made themselves available in the employee assistance program, which is great. Um, but I came to the table with a problem, and I had a solution in mind. In New Jersey, we have what's called the Captain Bushio program. It was named after a captain from Jersey City Fire Department that died of an underlying heart issue off duty.
Mm.
So his widow, she named this program, and it's a comprehensive physical exam. They run you on a cardiac stress test. You're sat down with a cardiologist. They do blood work. They do the gamut, and now it's even transformed to they do a cancer screening too, because cancer is the hot topic. Especially for our gear having PFAS, and never mind the firefighting foam, our own gear that's keeping us safe in a house fire is making us sick. Anyway, my solution was, can they send us on duty? And that started for a little bit. They were sending us to Captain Bushio with no sick time use. You were just kind of taken off the company and went. Kind of fell by the wayside. You're only as good as the buy-in. And at that level, I don't think I had the buy-in of the membership. So fast forward, my current chief, Alan Pine, when I came in the department, he was a firefighter with me. He was also a union shop steward. We've been friends for years. He's also a bagpiper in the same pipes and drums band. He was the one that got me involved. Very smart man. He made it last year, carved out a portion of our budget to send guys on overtime. So what's really cool now is we can expand upon this, and we're working on a program for health and wellness. We have a health and wellness officer, a good friend of mine. He's a captain in training, and this is going to be something that what our goal is like annual run blood tests, and we don't want to know what your blood type is. We don't want to know if you got high cholesterol. We just want to know if you're fit for duty, and that's all we see.
Yeah.
But if it's just something, that's all we want to see. We want to make sure our people are healthy. Just on a personal level, our department is big to me compared to others, but we're still small enough to be big that I know everybody by name. I pretty much know all their spouses. I have a personal connection with them. So if sending a guy to a physical and they find an underlying health issue and they go get it taken care of, they're still with us and us as a society, never mind our department. I want them to be with their families, because at the end of the day, they're never going to put Marty was a good fireman on my tombstone. Hopefully he was a loving husband, a loving father. To see that Alan had the buy-in from the membership and he had the wherewithal to put this program in place, and it's just been great. Something I've wanted for years. And I remember when before he even announced it, he called me up. He's like, "Hey, I got good news, something that you wanted for a long time. Like, this is awesome." I'd like to say that you think people want to make an investment on themselves, but human nature sometimes, unless if you're told to do it, then you're not going to do it. And I get that. And this isn't me sitting in the ivory tower in the chief's office. This is me thinking back and having that presence of mind that I wasn't there. And I was like, nope, it's their problem, because life happens.
That's excellent. You guys push that through.
There was an old FDNY chief that said that they don't want some lunk that's going to get off the engine. They want a brain surgeon who fit like a prize fighter to get off, solve a problem in the worst day of their life. So I liken that we're professional athletes without the high profile and the high paychecks, but we should still take care of our people. The Eagles are local to me. They make sure that their players have all their meals. They're taken care of. If they think they have a tweak, they send them to an MRI that's in the basement. We need to do the same thing for our people. Minus the meals and the expensive accoutrements, that's the least we can do for our people, is to make sure that they're healthy, because this job is going to take its toll.
What about personal development? Is that the individual's responsibility or the department's?
This was a personal shift in my own brain. Roll the clock back 23 years when I took the civil service test. I came in with those stacks of certs because as soon as I got them Fire One, I just trudged through every class I could to get a certification so I can make myself more attractive. I loved the job and I just wanted to learn more. I was probably the young bull running down the hill. My dad's like, slow down. I thought I was personally responsible. And then in my glib point of view, I said, no, these guys need to do it on their own or make personal sacrifice like I did. I'm me. We have a department of 66 career staff, and that's 66 different perspectives. But also, too, that's a big ask. I mean, me just as a deputy chief, never mind the chief of the department, we're asking a guy, hey, go on your own time. So you might get promoted because we need you in this capacity. If we need you to do this role, if we need to develop you this way, we're going to send you. There might be a little trade-off there, and that's understandable. For the instance, the National Fire Academy, you ever been?
I haven't been. I'm sad to admit I haven't been there. Yeah.
It'll always be there, hopefully, and always open. God willing, the powers that be. But, one of the trade-offs, instead of taking our guy off shift and put him on daytimes, it's, hey, you'll be compensated on the days that you're there on shift, but not for the days you're there. And if they come back and they're on shift, we put them off the clock the last 12 hours of their shift. So they go home, they're home with their families.
Yeah.
So yeah, a little give and take. But at the end of the result, that person's developing themselves professionally, they're networking. And
Yeah.
that's huge. I mean, half of this job is what you learn in the classroom, and then the other half is what you do on the street and who you meet at this level. Longer going to the days stretching line for me, but the department wins because okay, or they were voluntold, but we're still getting what we need out of them. So that was the biggest shift in my mind in the last probably 4 years, and that started when I was in training. I'm like, how come guys aren't taking these classes? Like, it's when I'm off duty and we'll just go when you're off duty. Oh, it's easy for you to say. You don't have three kids. You don't have a second job. You don't have your wife who works odd hours. I'm like, okay, I get that. So I took my slice of humble pie, ate it, swallowed the lump, and I
Hmm.
understand. So having that perspective of other viewpoints helps. So if
Hmm.
we need a guy developed and they don't have the certifications that we need and they get promoted, guess what's going to happen right away? We're
Hmm.
going to put them in a class that we can find in their own company time.
Nice. What about resilience? Resilience amongst our crews and our leaders. What are we getting right? What are we getting wrong? And how can we improve it?
Again, I'm hopeful now, hopeful in a great way. And like when I stop and think about it long enough, I get like a grin on my face because the millennials and the Gen Zs that are coming in, because they're present thinkers, um, they have better resilience than my generation, the Gen
Hmm.
X and the baby boomers. The great thing is that they're coming in at a great time that mental health and firefighter suicide are getting the spotlight that they so long have deserved. It's astounding, heartbreaking, and it's sobering that we're losing just as many people on the job through heart attack, struck by incidents, or at a house fire that we are to suicide. In some cases, even more because the reporting is finally starting to get consistent, it seems. This is getting the attention it deserves. I think our core of our people are going to be more resilient because they're getting that training in the womb. Whereas
Mm.
when I did firefighter one, we talked about resilience. It was like you go to rehab, have a cigarette and a cup of coffee. That was resilience.
Hmm.
But that was baby boomers. Now it was Gen X and the Asian millennial me. And I'm like, all right, well, cigarettes are going to stunt my growth, but here I am. Resilience at a personal level, that took some time. The scars tell a story for what happened, but how do we grow from there? It took a long time. And one incident that sticks out in mind actually happened in 2018. And I just started therapy on a personal level because cumulative stress was taking its toll. So I started medication through my primary care, and I was seeing a social psychologist. And I was probably in therapy for about 4 weeks, and this horrific incident happened on a highway. And I remember thinking after it happened, and it affected me for years that thank God I was in therapy when that time happened because now I understand why guys go down that dark hole. And ladies, this isn't gender specific, this problem, this pandemic, uh, because I probably would have done something egregious. So out of that, the most resilient part of my mind started to grow. It took years, but I'm
Hmm.
happy to be in a place and that present thinking,
Hmm.
that positive spin on it. I was put in that position for a reason. Whether you believe in a higher power or just life happens, that I can be a better resource to people that are in a time of need. Never mind the leadership side of my job, never mind me being a deputy chief. But if me, Marty, was put in a position that I could help coach and counsel somebody through a bad situation and get them out of that darkness, that's why I was meant to be at that incident. So
Yeah.
resilience, that's come to be one of my core values, that
Mm.
integrity and courage. And it's something I want to impart on people that, not to say every bad incident is bad, obviously. It could be one fatality, a young person was seriously injured, whatever the case is. But I always tell my people, I said, we did absolutely everything that we could because we relied on each other and we relied on our training. And out of this, there's always help and there's always support. Not, hey, call a number on the wall. That has its place for some people. You call me.
Hmm.
And if you don't want to talk to me, that's okay. I think I'm a likable guy, but a lot of people don't. Um, but we will take care of you because we will get through this. I noticed some small changes in people, and I think that when we have these bad incidents, we've had over the past 5 years, the punches keep coming, and they're going to keep coming. They could
Hmm.
they could probably get worse, but if we know how to weather the storm, become the best sailors we can be, because anybody can sail calm seas,
Hmm.
then we're going to get through this. We're going to be more resilient.
Do you think on then the best way to combat the statistics is really in each firehouse, just the kind of the family connection and supporting each other? What do you really think it's going to take to change the statistics?
The generational education has already begun. A good friend of mine, she just retired from a neighboring department. Her name's Sandy Lynch. You talk about a person that had a solution for a problem that nobody was talking about. She was years in the making. But she goes to these firefighter one, and it's like in the first days of the class, if not the first week, she's talking about mental health and resilience, and it's
Hmm.
huge. And she brings in different speakers about their personal traumas, and we're preparing people. You shouldn't be surprised that you're going to go to a fire one day. You cannot be surprised that you are going to suffer or you are going to feel pain because of this job. And
Hmm.
the most recent thing, I attended a webinar, mental health professional from San Bernardino. I believe she's the department psychiatrist for the police department. She said pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. And that
Hmm.
stuck with me. That'll be my new catchphrase for 2026. I mean, if she told me the winning lottery numbers in that webinar, I missed it because I was so hung on what she said, and she's
Hmm.
right. That we have so many resources, and now that we're teaching it, like I said, in the womb,
Hmm.
hopefully that people say like, yeah, that call was messed up, and I got resources. I'm going to get help now because what are we told? If we break an arm, we go to the hospital. We
Yeah.
don't sit there and just hope it gets better.
Hmm.
Same thing as mental health. So the optimist side of me, which is very small, um, the statistic will start to, because it's getting the attention it's so long deservedly needed,
Hmm.
they're going to start to come down. Will we ever eliminate it? Probably not. I hate to say this. I love my fellow man, but sometimes we just can't get out of our own way or our own heads.
Hmm.
But the education's there at the very base. And to tell people that, yeah, you're going to fight fire and you're going to feel pain, but you know what? Those fires are going to go out. And that pain will go away. And here's
Hmm.
how we can get past that.
I feel like we've swung a little bit talking about it too much and putting too much emphasis on it and maybe scared some people away
Yeah.
from this industry. I'm hoping it comes back to center of this is just how it is and here's your resources, use them, and then the accountability of using them consistently. I think that's where we're really maybe falling short is just activating the stuff that we've got and preventative aspect of making it a cultural thing that it's cool to be mentally healthy,
Yeah.
just like physically fit.
To your point, and I believe you touched on this in your presentation, which go see Jess at CPSC next year. I look at it as a triangle. It's physical, mental, and emotional health. One is going to affect the other. You take care of yourself physically, it's going to pay dividends. You get the endorphin rush when you get done working. Your
Mhm.
mood's better.
Yeah.
And or if you sleep, physically sleep, your emotional and mental well-being gets better. So all the
Yeah.
stuff that we've been hearing for years is true. And holy cow, exercise is good for you. Eating right is good for you. Uh, Now it's finally getting married up, molded to how firefighters really are and the culture that we are. That, okay, maybe you don't have the time to sit down for a good, healthy meal. What about making like chicken Caesar wraps for the go instead of grabbing a cheesesteak?
Hmm.
Stuff like that. But I do
Hmm.
agree with you about the mental health. If this sounds like I'm talking out both sides of my mouth, that we did swing the wrong direction. And I realized that too. Maybe you even said it, or it was another speaker about mental health. But they said, I'm done beating the horse. We know what causes stress. We know what causes anxiety. We know what causes depression. He
Hmm.
said, we need to focus on those individual legs of that horse. How can we accept it? How can we adapt to it? How can we learn to live with it?
Hmm.
Sleep deprivation, unfortunately, is part of the job. What's the answer? 10 platoon shift? You would bankrupt the richest of cities. There's no way.
Yeah.
But personal accountability and doing what's right. If you ask a pro athlete, they're not going to be reckless the day before a game. They shouldn't be. I mean, one, they're contractually obligated, and two, they're supposed to be there.
Yeah.
So take care of yourself before, during, and after your shift.
Hmm.
Be
Yeah.
accountable.
Yes, exactly. But what else haven't we touched on today, do you think that's important for firefighters to know when it comes to their mental well-being?
It is the best job in the world. And I say that as a father, being a dad is the best job in the world. But before that, all I knew was firefighting. I still love it. My perspective on the job is vastly different from where I sit at in the building. Take all the training you can possibly get your mitts on. Do stuff that makes you happy. Do stuff that'll make you grow. Do something for your station. Do something for your department. do something for yourself every shift. So
Hmm.
if something's just doing for your shift, and we have it contractually negotiated that our guys get an hour in the gym from
Oh,
the basic
nice.
firefighter, chief of the department, we all do it, and it's
Hmm.
great. In some cases, when I was a company officer, I'd say, "You want to take an hour and 20 minutes, so I know that you're the top performing athlete I need you to be? Okay, we'll push
Hmm.
back inspections.
Hmm.
Do something for yourself, your station, your department. Yeah, every shift. But aside from that, firefighting, I love it. Like you said in my introduction, I'm a fourth generation firefighter. Most of my
Hmm.
friends are firefighters. If I lost this, my identity would be gone.
Hmm.
So my advice to anybody that's coming in or currently, don't lose your identity just because this job stops. And it can stop at any minute. For
Hmm.
me, I could get a bad paper cut and get infected. I get retired off the job.
Yeah.
I could suffer a building collapse and he's taken off the job. And then you lose that friend circle. We all say that we're going to stick together, but human nature, we all drift apart. Have a great support system, your fire family. You spend, in some cases, a third or a fourth or a quarter of the year with these people. They're your family. Right, wrong, or indifferent. You want to kill them just the same way you want to do blood relatives. You don't want to invite them to Christmas dinner, but there they are on the 25th. But make sure that you have a good support system outside of the job.
Hmm.
That's huge. My wife has been amazing. I know I put her through some tough stuff through the years, just me being me and internalizing a lot. And it took a long time before I did that. Plus, I don't want to give that to my kids. But in
Yeah.
addition to that, I have a core group of friends that I still stay in contact with pretty much every day. We talk to each other through Slack or one of the online chat things. We grew up in the age of AOL.
Uh,
Bring that back. That was fun. So that's my advice. Don't
mhm.
limit yourself to just firefighting. Make yourself more well-rounded aside from that, because once you retire, that's it. What else do you know? What else do you have?
What tool or resource would you like to leave people with that could look into?
Um, One, I'll be a shameless plug on a book that I will not receive a nickel for. Probably nothing from the authors either, but the
Huh?
author's name is Marty. The book is called Leadership on the Line.
Okay.
You can find it on Amazon. Currently reading it. I'm just about a third into it. And it was one of those things that I had to read for an upcoming class I'm in, and I absolutely love it. So if you are a leader in your own lane, if you're a chief, if you're a company officer, if you lead goats, this is a great book.
Uh-huh.
That wasn't a slam on a firefighter. I was just literally me and lead goats. But it's a really good perspective on objective thinking, being a present thinker, and
Hmm.
learning perspective. Another thing too, you never want to be the smartest guy in the room. I've never wanted to be, I will never be the smartest guy in the room. But the one room I was asked to join was the Camden County Emerald Society Pipes and Drums. Some of the best leaders in the area in their own right, police officers, chiefs, former military, but they're all here for the right reasons. We pay our respects to those who die in the line of duty, but we also go out to Emmitsburg for the Fallen Firefighters Memorial weekend. Now that it's in May, give them a look up. Support the mission if you want to. They take donations. Or donations are what get us to these funerals. And they keep our instruments sharp.
Hmm.
So they're the smart ones. I'm the dumb one in the room.
It's such an interesting tradition between the fire service and bagpipes. How did that start? Do you know?
I, so back in the day, about the potato famine, that's when it started in Ireland. Mass exodus from Ireland and Irish immigrants. They weren't particularly fond of the Irish. And I mean, how could you not be fond of the Irish? Uh,
Yeah.
we drink a lot. We're
They're so
funny.
fun. I know.
Yeah, exactly. This took place in Boston and New York, and to a certain extent in Philadelphia. But the only jobs they could get where nobody else wanted were cops and firemen. And way back
Mm-hmm.
in the day, we had these local fire brigades. They were killing a dozen at a time firemen. So because they were immigrants, what they would do is they would play the bagpipes at the funeral,
Hmm.
and thus became married in tradition together. Amazing Grace is probably the most recognizable tune on the bagpipes. Everybody has an emotional connection one way or another. If you're a firefighter or you're not, whatever. That wasn't originally for the bagpipes. The Royal Scot Dragoons, I believe, when they came here in '74, they heard it and they're like, it's pretty tune. So they played on the pipes. So
Hmm.
as a Scottish band came to America, heard this beautiful Southern hymn, we
Uh,
put it on the bagpipes, and legend is born.
wow. Thank you for sharing that history.
Yeah. I think that was probably the most intelligent thing I said all podcast.
No, that was great. Any other closing thoughts, Marty, before we wrap everything up here?
um, Always be a student, and that's where I'm at. I'm starting my executive fire officer program through the National Fire Academy soon, and I'm looking forward to learning that next phase. Just always be a student of the fire service. Take it for what it is. Be a present thinker and truly enjoy it, because like some of my fondest memories of my life are just the fire department and the people I got to work with, and had the pleasure of learning with. It's just been a blast.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Fantastic.
thank you.
Thank you for joining us today and sharing your wisdom, your insights. And thank you to our viewers. If you're still watching, we really appreciate you. And if you have any questions or comments or follow up after this episode, my door is always open to you. Reach out to me at info@firepowerx.com. And otherwise, guys, we will see you in the next webinar. Bye for now.